Okay, hello everyone. This is Jilby's the Worm Lady. Half a million other things lady. I just enjoy knowledge. So this video, I I'm learning a few lessons here. I have 50 of these bins. And we're still in the growth stage, so they're not like loaded with worms or anything. And so I'm learning now when to feed, things like that, how much to feed, blah blah blah. And so I'll point out a few things that I've learned as I go through this bin. So this bin was last checked on 12/17. Today I think is 12/28. This looks like it is mostly all leaves. It would have some coco coir, peat moss, probably some donkey and horse manure. These are cottonseed hulls that have sprouted and started to grow. So what I do is I just come in here and turn the bin. There's not very many worms. I'm taking note of that. Not very many worms in here at all. And then I will look at so it's a very new bin. There is a cocoon, so at least there is some multiplication going on in here. It's plenty moist. I don't have water standing on the bottom, which is something I do not like. So that's a good sign. There's worms that are connected, so they are mating, reproducing. They like the moisture level, I'm sure. There are some shavings, pine shavings, like for animal bedding in here. I like those to give it more aeration. Also kind of holds the moisture. If it gets a little too high, it'll absorb some. And then if it gets a little too low, it retains it. I like bigger chips. Okay, so I took note that this bin has plenty of moisture. I didn't have to add moisture, but I didn't, it's not too dry either, so I make note of that on the moisture level. The number of adult worms I'm making note of, and that seems very low. So I could add some to this bin in the future if I have a bin that's like, whoa, getting way overpopulated. 2, I'm going to look at what's kind of the age of the bedding in here. Like, are they just about through? And I mean through meaning, have they eaten all this bedding? Is there lots of castings? Not very many castings? Have I added new bedding to it? Like that kind of thing. I'm making note of that. This looks like fairly new bedding. They really haven't ate much, but then there's not very many worms in here, so that is all going to be time sensitive, depending on the amount of worms you have in there. So that's what I look for. The number of cocoons. There are cocoons, but it's low. At least this isn't like a bin full of babies. I probably don't need to feed the bin because of all the leaves and things, but I kind of, I think, want to start training them. So I use these little slivers of pumpkin. I put them in the freezer, let them freeze solid, and then I'll take them out and let them thaw out for a day, and then they're super easy just to cut into slivers. So that's going to be the extent of what I do with this worm bin. It's just going to need more time for more population. Now, what I wanted to show you really, what I'm doing with this bin, because I'm only, like I said, I just started. I'm still learning, making a lot of notes, things like that. So I just take that off. I use this paper to tell me basically just when I turn the bin. Now I don't make a whole lot of notes at this point because really don't know what all I want to be taking notes on. But here's what I want to show you, and my worms have gotten some jewelry. Beads. This makes my life 1,000 times easier. So I'll explain. This column here, the red column, tells me what my bedding situation is, because I use the donkey manure, and I'll add leaves, and I'll add so basically browns and greens together, which may end up starting to compost in the bin. And so I'm saying that if I put on an orange bead, that's a very low fire risk, I guess. It's not going to catch fire, I'm saying. Okay, so if I put on a red bead, that means I've probably mixed fresh donkey manure with the leaves, which are maybe a little fresh, and we could have a fire situation, meaning it's just urgency. I mean, I could cook them all, basically. So this is not going to get a red bead. It's not going to get a medium color bead, but a orange bead, because it's a low emergency risk when it comes to cooking them. The blue is for the amount of water in there, and like I said, the water was good. I didn't add water, so I'm not going to use the darkest bead, which is when I add water. And it doesn't really need water, I don't feel like. We're getting close. It's got plenty. I'm not going to need to worry about it, so I don't use the lightest color bead. Now, I did just give him the piece of pumpkin. So for green, I go with, actually, it's kind of crazy, but I go with the, like, kind of the medium color bead. I might change that, but, and I probably should change that, but I haven't yet. So that is my food greens. And then there's a darker and a yellow. So I don't know that I'll ever use those or whatever. But that's my food supply. Now, these purples are my cocoons. And since I did not see many cocoons, I go with the lightest color purple bead. If I have a bin that's just loaded with cocoons, then I go with a very, very dark bead. I'm not showing you like those right up close, but I think you get the hint, and you can kind of see the colors here. Now my browns are for my bedding, and so we discussed the bedding, and it's got a lot of leaves, and everything looks very immature in its casting stages. So if it's getting towards the end, I go with a very dark brown color that's got a ton of castings in it. I'm going to be needing to change the bedding soon. Otherwise, I have a medium, meaning they're working through it pretty good. All of that's also going to be dependent on the amount of worms in the bin, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going with a very light color bead, because this bedding is not worked down very much at all. So that's the light brown. Now, I want to know the amount of worms in this bin, and so if I need to add some more in the future, because we're behind here, because I've split like crazy just to get these numbers put in these bins, or get the bins full and get them going, so I could pull from one of my bins that's got a lot more breeding population and put it into this bin. So if I have a really high breeding population, it gets the black bead, and a low breeding population, which is in this bin, gets the white bead. So now, those are all the different beads right now that I've thought of, that I'm kind of monitoring on these bins. And so, if you think more needs to be monitored, you can come up with different colors and see what else you want to monitor so far. Maybe make me some suggestions about what else I might want to monitor in the future, because like I said, just getting started. So if you see anything that's a big red flag, which gets a red bead, I'm teasing. So I get it's like a shower curtain hook, I think. I'm not sure. I just look up hooks on Amazon. So this hook is perfect. And these bins from Menards are the ones I like the best. They seem to be the most strength to them. And the hook fits fairly snug on there. These don't kind of pop off of there. And then when I put this bead on the front, and I can turn it around, it hangs at the front of the rack. And then when I come in, I'm going to put this back over here, and then I'll show you. And then every time I come into my worm area, I'm going to see this is on this. Okay, so the phone fell off And I'm going to see if I can show you on the racks what it looks like. So I can come in here, and any bin that I thought maybe had a little too much food or something. So this is not a fire hazard. We got plenty of water. They've been fed recently, so I know when they've been fed. Like, they should have plenty of food. Cocoon low, my fresh bedding here, and my worm population is low. But now you can see, if you just walk in here and you look down all these bins, you can instantly kind of look for the bead that you know, woohoo, we've got a fire hazard here, or it's a red flag. I'm not sure exactly that it right now that's a bedding issue or not, but it's definitely a red flag that I put on there. And I'll probably maybe change that this red is not due to bedding, but it's just a red flag bead on there that I need to watch this. If this one actually may be that its population is getting a little full. So this bin, this type of bin here, I'll show you how loose this thing hangs on here. This is the same bin. This is a smaller hook I grabbed. Also has that hole. I mean, those bins have that hole there, but, you know, which is, oh yes, you would think nice for a hook, but the reason I don't like it is because it's plastic, and to me, I think that creates a weak spot when you go to lift that tub, and why I have not chose to use that tub, except for that I do have several of them, because that's what I started out with, but that's not the tub that I like the best. But I ran out of being able to buy that tub, so I switched, and now I found that this tub's a little thicker. This thing holds a little tighter, doesn't ever flip off when I go to change the bedding or check the worms. So there you go. That is the video for today on why I put jewelry on my worm bins. It sounds crazy, but it gives me just a really quick idea of what I need to be doing in any of these bins. So if I look up here, I know, look, see the black bead on there? I know, woo, we got good population in here. So when I find one with the white, I can go to the one with the black bead, grab some of those breeders out, and put them into this bin, which is low in cocoon and worm population. Oh, I'm sure if I just use these 4 breeders, then I wouldn't need this bead system. But for right now, as I'm learning, I think it's working out very handy. Till I get a little more smoother operation going, this is what I'll do. So anyway, have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching my worm adventures here at the mothership, where we are preparing for the carbon farming process.